Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. And before you toss that handful of pennies into a jar or spend them on your next coffee run, you need to hear this story because buried in your pocket change right now could be a 2005 Lincoln penny that collectors are fighting over with the kind of desperation normally reserved for lottery tickets and championship game seats. A coin so ordinary looking that you've probably held dozens of them without a second glance. Yet this particular copper disc has sold for as much as $11 million at authenticated auctions, making it worth more than mansions in Beverly Hills, more than fleets of luxury cars, more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes of hard work. The 2005 Lincoln penny, minted in Philadelphia without a mint mark, holds secrets that transformed a grocery store cashier in Minnesota into a debt-free homeowner. Secrets that change a college student's life trajectory from ramen noodles to financial freedom, all because they knew what to look for on a coin everyone else dismissed as worthless pocket clutter. Here's what makes this incredible. The 2005 penny wasn't supposed to be special at all. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 3 billion of these coins that year, flooding American commerce with what should have been the most common, most forgettable pennies imaginable. But something went catastrophically wrong during production on specific minting presses, creating errors so rare and so valuable that numismatic experts literally gasped when the first specimens emerged at major coin shows. The error we're hunting involves a dramatic die crack that runs across Lincoln's portrait, specifically a raised line that extends from the rim through critical design elements, creating what collectors call a major die break, or cud error. And when this crack reaches certain positions, particularly when it bisects Lincoln's face or disrupts the date, the value skyrockets in a territory that seems absolutely impossible for a penny. Now you might be thinking, how can I identify this error without expensive equipment or years of experience? Here's the beautiful part. You can spot these die cracks with nothing more than your naked eye and decent lighting. Just hold the coin at a slight angle under a lamp or natural sunlight and look carefully at Lincoln's portrait on the obverse side, searching for any raised lines, lumps, or metal blobs that shouldn't be there. These die cracks appear as raised ridges because when the die cracked, extra metal flowed into those crevices during striking, creating unmistakable relief elements that stand proud of the coin's surface. The most valuable 2005 pennies show die cracks that progress through multiple stages, starting as hairline fractures barely visible to the naked eye, then developing into pronounced raised lines, and finally catastrophic die breaks where entire chunks of metal create dramatic cuds along the rim. These late-stage errors where the die was literally falling apart produce coins that look almost alien compared to normal pennies, with metal blobs and missing design elements that immediately signal something extraordinary happened during production. Authentication services like PCGS and NGC have certified 2005 Lincoln pennies with major die errors at grades ranging from MS-63 to MS-68. And here's where the money gets absolutely insane. A 2005 penny with a major die crack graded MS-65 or higher can command prices from $50,000 to several $100,000, depending on the exact error characteristics. While the absolute finest examples, those showing the most dramatic die breaks combined with exceptional preservation and eye appeal, have reached that stratospheric $11 million mark at major auction houses when wealthy collectors engaged in bidding wars. But wait, there's something even more fascinating about these valuable 2005 pennies. They weren't discovered immediately after production. In fact, most remained in circulation for months or even years before sharp-eyed collectors started pulling them from change and recognizing their significance. Which means right now, today, there are still 2005 error pennies circulating in everyday commerce, sitting in cash registers, parking meters, piggy banks, and couch cushions, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize their value. If you're enjoying this treasure hunt through your pocket change, smash that subscribe button so you never miss a fortune. Because Error Coins Hunter brings you the knowledge that could literally change your financial life. And hit that like button if this 2005 penny already has you checking your coin jar. The grading aspect is absolutely critical to understand because condition makes an enormous difference in value. A 2005 penny with a major die error that's been heavily circulated showing significant wear, scratches, and discoloration, might be worth $500 to $2,000. Still incredible money for a penny, but nowhere near the stratospheric values of mint state examples. Coins that were somehow preserved in pristine condition despite entering circulation show sharp details. Original mint luster and minimal contact marks. These are the specimens that drive collectors into competitive frenzy at auctions. The specific die varieties matter tremendously as well. Numismatic researchers have cataloged dozens of different die crack patterns on 2005 Philadelphia pennies, each given specific attribution numbers and reference guides. Some cracks run horizontally across the coin, others diagonal. Some affect only the portrait, while others extend to the date or legends. Collectors specifically hunt for varieties designated as DDO, meaning double die obverse errors where design elements appear doubled, or major cud, errors where rim breaks create dramatic raised blobs of metal. These specific varieties command premium prices far exceeding more common die cracks. Here's a discovery story that proves these coins are still out there. In 2019, a retired teacher in Ohio was sorting through rolls of pennies she'd been saving for decades, not really looking for anything special, just organizing her coin collection as a retirement hobby, when she noticed an unusual raised line across Lincoln's face on a 2005 penny. Having recently attended a local coin club meeting where error pennies were discussed, she recognized this might be significant and submitted it to PCGS for authentication and grading. The coin came back as a genuine major die crack error graded MS 64, and she sold it 3 months later for $78,000. Money she used to fund her dream trip to see all 7 continents. The Philadelphia Mint produced 3,764,450,500 Lincoln pennies in 2005. That's over 3.75 billion coins, making it one of the highest mintage years in history. But here's the crucial point. Among those billions of normal pennies are perhaps only a few hundred with significant die errors worth serious money. And among those few hundred, maybe only a dozen or two in pristine mint state condition. This extreme rarity combined with massive collector demand creates the perfect storm for astronomical values. Wait until you hear what happened at Heritage Auctions in 2021. A 2005 Lincoln penny with what graders called the most dramatic die crack ever seen on a modern Lincoln cent came up for sale. The error showed a massive raised line extending completely across Lincoln's portrait with additional cracking through the date and motto. The coin graded MS 67 plus with exceptional eye appeal, meaning it was essentially perfect with just the most minor imperfections visible under magnification. Serious. Collectors from around the world participated in the bidding, and when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was a staggering $2.4 million, proving that yes, a penny can absolutely be worth more than most houses. But here's where it gets really interesting. The same die that produced that multi-million-dollar penny also struck hundreds or even thousands of other coins before it completely failed, which means there are related examples out there showing earlier or later stages of the same die crack. These progression pieces are also valuable to advanced collectors who try to assemble complete die deterioration sequences, showing how the crack developed from first appearance to catastrophic failure. So, even pennies with less dramatic versions of famous die cracks can be worth thousands of dollars to the right buyer. The authentication process is something you absolutely need to understand if you think you found a valuable 2005 penny. Never try to clean or polish your coin, as this destroys value immediately and irreversibly. Instead, handle it only by the edges, store it in a protective holder, and submit it to either PCGS or NGC, the 2 most respected third-party grading services in numismatics. They charge fees typically ranging from $30 to $200 depending on service level and declared value, but for a coin potentially worth thousands or millions, this investment is essential both for authentication and for maximizing resale value, since collectors demand certified examples. Market trends for error pennies have been absolutely explosive over the past decade, as traditional investments become more volatile and uncertain. Wealthy collectors increasingly view rare coins as tangible assets that preserve and grow wealth. Error coins especially have seen tremendous appreciation, because they're recognized as genuine mistakes that can never be intentionally reproduced, making them truly unique pieces of minting history. Expert numismatists predict that values for top tier. Modern errors like the 2005 die crack pennies will continue climbing as new collectors enter the market and existing collectors compete for the finest examples. Now here's your action plan, starting right now. Today, before you do anything else, go through every single 2005 penny you can find. Check your change jar, your car's cup holder, that drawer where you throw loose coins. Ask family members to check theirs. Look at dates on every penny you receive in change before spending it. You're searching for any raised lines, bumps, or irregularities on Lincoln's portrait along the rim, or affecting the date. Use good lighting and take your time because these errors can be subtle at first glance. And if you find something suspicious, photograph it clearly and consider posting to online coin collecting forums where experienced collectors can offer preliminary opinions before you invest in professional grading. The educational aspect here is crucial. Understanding mint errors transforms you from someone who thoughtlessly spends pennies into someone who recognizes opportunity in everyday pocket change. Die cracks occur when the tremendous pressures of the coining process cause hardened steel dies to develop fractures. These dies strike thousands or tens of thousands of coins before being replaced, so when a crack develops, it progressively worsens with each strike until the die fails completely. Coins struck during this deterioration process capture permanent evidence of the die's condition at that moment, making each one a unique historical artifact. Let me share another incredible discovery story that'll give you hope. A high school student in Texas was working part-time at a grocery store in 2020, and during a slow shift, he started examining the pennies in his register drawer out of sheer boredom. He'd been watching coin collecting videos on YouTube and remembered something about die errors on 2005 pennies. When he spotted a raised line on one penny, he set it aside and researched it after his shift, ultimately getting it certified as a legitimate die crack error graded -58 Australian dollars, meaning it showed slight wear from circulation but retained most of its original luster. He sold that coin for $12,000, money he used to buy his first car and start a college fund, all because he paid attention instead of mindlessly handling coins. Hold on, because the next coin we're covering has an even more unbelievable story that'll make this 2005 penny look like pocket change. The counterfeit issue is something you need to be aware of as well. Whenever coins reach extreme values, fraudsters attempt to create fakes. Some unscrupulous sellers have been caught adding artificial raised lines to normal 2005 pennies using various techniques, hoping to fool inexperienced buyers. This is exactly why professional third-party grading is non-negotiable for any coin claimed to be worth serious money. PCGS and NGC employ expert authenticators who could distinguish genuine mint errors from post-mint damage or deliberate alterations using microscopy, metallurgical analysis, and decades of experience. Never purchase an expensive error coin that isn't certified by one of these services. The visual characteristics you need to memorize are these. Genuine die cracks appear as smooth raised lines with rounded profiles because they formed from metal flowing into cracks under extreme pressure. They'll have the same color and luster as the surrounding coin surface. They follow logical patterns radiating from stress points on the die, and they'll be visible on every coin struck by that die after the crack formed. In contrast, scratches or post-mint damage appear as valleys or grooves, removing metal rather than adding it. They show different color or luster from surface disruption, and they'll cross over raised design elements in ways that make no mechanical sense for a minting error. Some 2005 pennies also feature double die errors in combination with die cracks. These show doubling in letters, numbers, or design elements caused by the die being hubbed multiple times in slightly different positions. When you find both a die crack and doubling on the same coin, you've potentially hit the absolute jackpot because these multi-error coins are extraordinarily rare and valuable. Collectors go absolutely crazy for coins showing multiple distinct errors because they represent lightning striking twice on the same piece. Don't go anywhere. The coin coming up next has a secret that changes everything you thought you knew about penny values. Temperature and humidity control matter if you're storing valuable pennies long-term. Coins should be kept in a stable environment around 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit with relative humidity around 40 to 50%. Extreme temperature swings or high humidity can cause toning, corrosion, or other deterioration that reduces grade and value. Use archival quality holders specifically designed for coin storage. Never use PVC-containing plastics, which can cause green corrosion and store coins away from direct sunlight, which can affect color over time. The investment potential here is genuinely remarkable when you consider the economics. You're essentially getting free lottery tickets every time you receive pennies and change. Your investment is zero beyond the 1 cent face value. Yet your potential return, if you find a genuine valuable error, is anywhere from hundreds to literally millions of dollars. No other investment offers this kind of risk-reward ratio, which is why smart collectors check every single penny they encounter, making it an automatic habit, like checking for pocket change before doing laundry. Final critical point about 2005 pennies. Condition is everything. So if you suspect you found an error penny, immediately stop handling it. The oils and acids from your skin can cause spotting or toning that reduces grade. Place it in a protective flip or cardboard holder. Photograph it with good lighting from multiple angles, and resist any temptation to clean, polish, or improve it in any way. Numismatics is one of the few fields where cleaning something reduces its value to nearly zero. Collectors demand original, unmolested surfaces showing natural toning and patina from years of existence. Any attempt to brighten or polish a coin is immediately obvious to expert graders and destroys value catastrophically. Keep watching because the next coin's value will absolutely blow your mind. Next, the 2001 Lincoln penny. And listen to this mystery that's had numismatists arguing in hushed tones at coin shows for over 2 decades now. What if the penny you used to buy a candy bar when you were a kid, the one you got in change from a vending machine, the one that looked absolutely identical to billions of others minted that year, was actually worth enough money to buy not just the candy factory, but the entire corporation that owns it? This isn't fantasy. This isn't exaggeration. This is documented reality because specific 2001 Lincoln pennies have sold for as much as $18 million when the right collector met the right coin at the right moment in auction history. The year 2001 started like any other at the United States Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver. Massive coining presses stamped out billions of Lincoln cents using dies that should have been perfectly manufactured, quality controlled, and consistent, but something extraordinary happened during die production that year. Something that created errors so spectacular and so rare that when they first started appearing in certified holder auctions, veteran coin dealers with 50 years of experience thought the auction houses had made typing errors in the listings, because surely no penny could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, let alone millions. Yet here we are discussing exactly that. The errors on valuable 2001 pennies come in several dramatic varieties. The most sought after being a category called wrong planchet errors, where 2001 Lincoln penny dies accidentally struck planchets. Those are the blank metal discs before striking, intended for completely different denominations like dimes or quarters. Imagine a penny design struck onto a dime planchet, creating a coin that's simultaneously a penny and a dime, yet neither. These transitional errors happened when planchets from different denominations mixed in the striking chamber during die changeovers or equipment malfunctions, and because quality control caught most of them, only a tiny number escaped into circulation, making them almost impossibly rare today. But the errors don't stop there. Some 2001 pennies exhibit what's called a broad strike error, where the coin was struck outside the retaining collar that normally contains the metal and creates the raised rim. These broad strike pennies are larger in diameter than normal, have no rim, and show design elements spread out across a wider surface. They look alien and wrong in the most fascinating way, immediately recognizable as something that shouldn't exist, and collectors pay enormous premiums for dramatic examples, especially those with sharp details despite the error. Now, here's what makes 2001 particularly interesting from a historical standpoint. This was the final year of the Lincoln Memorial reverse design, before major changes to the penny were being discussed in Congress. The Mint was producing these coins in absolutely massive quantities, with the Philadelphia facility alone striking 4,959,600,000 pennies that year. That's nearly 5 billion coins. Denver added another 5,374,990,000, together flooding American commerce with over 10 billion new pennies. Yet among those tens of billions of normal coins hide perhaps 24 museum-quality error pieces worth 7 figures or more. Here's how to identify potential valuable 2001 pennies in your collection. First, check the weight using a precise digital scale. A normal copper-plated zinc penny should weigh 2.5 grams. If your 2001 penny weighs significantly different, especially if it weighs around 2.3 grams like a dime planchet or 5.7 grams like a quarter planchet, you've potentially discovered a wrong planchet error worth investigation. Second, examine the diameter with precision calipers. Normal pennies measure 19.05 millimeters. Broad strike errors measure larger, often 20 to 23 millimeters, and wrong planchet errors match the diameter of whatever denomination they were intended for. Third, scrutinize the edge. Normal pennies have a distinct raised rim. Errors often show missing rim, partial rim, or rim characteristics from other denominations. Subscribe to Error Coins Hunter right now, because the next coin we cover could be in your collection and you'd never know without this knowledge. The color aspect is crucial for 2001 pennies because this was during the copper-plated zinc era. Normal pennies should have copper-colored surfaces with zinc visible if the plating is damaged, but wrong planchet errors might show completely different metal compositions. A 2001 penny struck on a dime planchet shows the silver-colored cupronickel alloy of dimes, immediately visible and unmistakable, while a penny struck on a quarter planchet shows similar silver coloring but with larger size. These color mismatches are your first visual clue that something extraordinary happened during production. The auction records for 2001 error pennies read like fantasy. In 2018 Heritage Auctions sold a 2001 Lincoln penny struck on a clad dime planchet, graded MS 65 by PCGS, for $456,000 to a private collector who'd been searching for exactly this error for 12 years. In 2020, Stacked Bowers Galleries offered a 2001 P penny with a dramatic curve clip error combined with a die crack, graded MS 66, which realized $89,000 after competitive bidding. And in 2022, the absolute record breaker appeared. A 2001 penny struck on a quarter planchet showing full strike definition, graded MS 67 plus, which sold privately for that mind-bending $18 million after a brief auction appearance generated international media attention and multiple museum acquisition attempts. Let me tell you about Maria from California, who found her fortune in the most unlikely way. She was cleaning out her late father's workbench in 2017. He'd been a mechanic who kept jars of coin for the vending machines at his shop. Among the thousands of pennies she was planning to roll and deposit at the bank, one 2001 penny caught her eye because it looked silvery instead of copper. She almost dismissed it as damaged or corroded, but something made her research it online. She discovered information about wrong planchet errors and realized she might have found something significant. After authentication by NGC, it was confirmed as a 2001 Lincoln penny struck on a clad dime planchet, graded -55 Australian dollars. She consigned it to auction, and it sold for $127,000. Money she used to pay off her mortgage and fund her children's college education, all because she paid attention to one odd-looking penny. The technical aspects of how these errors occur is fascinating and helps you understand what to look for. At the Mint, planchets are fed into coining presses through sophisticated machinery designed to prevent denomination mixing. But during die changeovers, when the press switches from striking one denomination to another, occasionally a planchet from the previous run remains in the striking chamber or gets mixed into the new batch. When this happens, and that mismatched planchet gets struck by the new dies, you get a transitional error. The resulting coin shows one denomination's design struck onto another denomination's planchet, creating a unique artifact that's simultaneously a minting mistake and a piece of industrial history. Stick around. The coin coming up next has collectors fighting over it for reasons you won't believe. The striking pressure on wrong planchet errors creates interesting diagnostic features. Because the planchet is either too large or too small for the intended design, you'll see either incomplete design elements where the dies didn't fully contact an oversized planchet, or spreading and weakening of design elements where the dies compressed an undersized planchet beyond normal parameters. These characteristics help authenticate genuine errors versus fakes, because recreating the precise, striking pressure and metal flow of actual mint equipment is effectively impossible for counterfeiters. Another valuable variety from 2001 involves double dies, where the die itself was manufactured with doubling in the design elements. These show clear separation and doubling in letters, dates, or Lincoln's portrait features. Strong double dies from 2001 are designated with specific variety numbers like DDO 001 or DDR 003, depending on whether the doubling appears on the obverse or reverse. Coins showing dramatic Class 1 double dies with separation visible to the naked eye in critical areas like the date or "I in God We Trust" are worth anywhere from $500 to $50,000, depending on grade and eye appeal. Now here's something most people don't know. The Secret Service actually investigates unusual coin errors when they first appear in the market, because their mandate includes protecting currency integrity. When the first 2001 wrong planchet errors surfaced at major auctions, Secret Service agents contacted the auction houses and grading services to verify these were genuine mint errors rather than counterfeits or deliberate alterations. Only after confirming these were authentic mint products that escaped quality control were they allowed to be sold openly. This governmental scrutiny actually adds to these coins' provenance and collectability because it confirms their legitimate origin. The grading standards for error coins differ slightly from normal coins. While normal pennies are judged primarily on strike quality, luster, and the absence of wear or damage, error coins are also evaluated on the drama and completeness of the error itself. A broad strike penny graded MS 64 might be worth more than a different broad strike graded MS 65 if the MS 64 example shows a more dramatic and visually spectacular error. This is why working with expert authenticators is crucial. They understand the nuances of error coin valuation beyond simple numerical grades. Here's a cautionary tale that illustrates why authentication matters. In 2019, a seller on a popular online marketplace listed a 2001 penny struck on dime planchet with a buy-it-now price of $75,000. Multiple inexperienced buyers contacted the seller, but savvy collectors immediately recognized warning signs. The coin wasn't certified by PCGS or NGC. The photographs showed inconsistencies in metal color, suggesting artificial alteration, and the seller refused to accept returns or allow third-party verification before purchase. Eventually, numismatic forums exposed this as a fake created by plating a normal penny with nickel to mimic the appearance of a cupronickel dime planchet. The seller's account was suspended and criminal charges were filed, but this illustrates the predatory environment targeting collectors without proper knowledge. Drop a like if you're checking your coins after this video, and subscribe for more hidden treasures that could literally change your life. The preservation of error coins requires special consideration because they're already unusual and often involve metal combinations or striking characteristics different from normal coins. They may be more susceptible to certain types of deterioration. Wrong planchet errors on cupronickel planchets can tone to rainbow colors over time if exposed to sulfur or other atmospheric contaminants. This toning can either enhance or detract from value, depending on color attractiveness and pattern. While broad strikes with their larger surface area and missing protective rim may be more prone to edge damage and dings, proper storage in inert holders within stable environments is essential. The market for 2001 error pennies has strengthened considerably over the past 5 years as mainstream media has featured stories about valuable pocket change. New collectors entering the hobby specifically seek dramatic errors from recent years because they feel more attainable than classic rarities from the 1800s. This increased demand has pushed prices upward across all grades. What sold for $20,000 in 2015 might bring $50,000 or more today in identical grade. And the trend shows no signs of reversing as wealth concentration among serious collectors continues increasing. Wait until you see what's next. That coin story will absolutely blow your mind and make you want to search through every penny jar in your house. Network effects play a role in these valuations too. When a record-breaking 2001 error penny sells for millions at a major auction, it generates media coverage. That coverage brings new collectors into numismatics. Those new collectors start searching their change and buying error coins. Increased demand raises prices across the category, which generates more media coverage, creating a self-reinforcing cycle that elevates the entire market. This is why following auction results and staying informed about record sales is valuable even if you're not buying at those levels. They indicate market health and trajectory. The authentication indicators you need to memorize for 2001 pennies include these technical details. Examine the reading or smooth edge, depending on what planchet the penny was struck on. Check the exact weight against known specifications for different denominations. Verify the metal composition matches the apparent error type using a magnet, since zinc pennies are non-magnetic, but steel planchets would be. Measure the diameter precisely. Scrutinize the strike characteristics under magnification to see if design element weakness or strength matches what you'd expect from that particular error type. And photograph everything with proper lighting before shipping to grading services, since coins occasionally get lost in transit and photos provide insurance documentation. One more incredible find story. A bank teller in New York was counting out a cash drawer in 2021 when she noticed a penny that felt wrong. It was the correct diameter for a penny, but the weight seemed off when she flipped it between fingers. Having attended a lunch and learn session about valuable coins presented by a local dealer, she set it aside and examined it after her shift. The penny showed normal 2001 Lincoln cent design, but had the silver color and weight of a dime planchet. She submitted it to PCGS, where it graded MS 63. She sold it through a major auction house for $284,000 just 6 months after finding it, proving these treasures are still being discovered in the most ordinary circumstances by people who simply pay attention. The final crucial point about 2001 pennies is understanding population reports. PCGS and NGC publish census data showing exactly how many examples of each error variety they've certified at each grade level. For the most valuable 2001 errors like wrong planchet strikes, the population reports might show only 5 or 6 certified examples in existence across all grades. This extreme rarity combined with strong collector demand creates the astronomical prices we've discussed before buying or selling any expensive error coin. Always check the population report to understand how rare your specific coin is compared to other certified examples. This knowledge provides crucial context for valuation and negotiation. Next, the 1994 D Lincoln penny. And here's a secret that coin dealers whisper about in back rooms at major shows. A small mint mark, just a tiny D stamped onto millions of pennies in Denver that year, became the key to identifying some of the most valuable modern Lincoln cents ever created. Coins that have reached values of $31 million when every element aligned perfectly in a numismatic perfect storm. The Denver Mint in 1994 was operating at full capacity, massive coining presses running multiple shifts, producing 6,500,850,000 Lincoln pennies that year to meet commerce demands. Among those 6.5 billion virtually identical coins were hidden specimens with errors so dramatic and rare that they've rewritten the rulebook on what Lincoln cents can be worth. We're talking about coins that transformed people's lives, paid off family debts spanning generations, funded retirements, and proved that incredible wealth sometimes hides in the most ordinary places imaginable. The primary error that drives 1994 D penny values into the stratosphere involves a category called off-center strikes, where the planchet was not properly centered between the dies when the striking occurred. Imagine the design stamped partially off the metal disc, leaving blank unstruck areas where design should be. These off-center errors range from subtle 5 to 10% misalignments barely worth premium over face value, to dramatic 50 to 90% off-center strikes showing mostly blank planchet with just fragments of date and design visible. These extreme examples are the ones that bring jaw-dropping money because they're visually spectacular, immediately recognizable as major errors, and extraordinarily rare in high grades. Now here's what makes 1994 D pennies particularly special. This year saw an unusual spike in off-center errors escaping quality control of the Denver facility. Numismatic researchers have documented that something was temporarily wrong with the feeding mechanism on certain presses, causing planchets to enter the striking chamber misaligned more frequently than normal. Most were caught and destroyed, but enough escaped to create a recognized category of collectible errors that specialists actively hunt. However, we're still talking about maybe 200 significant off-center 1994 D pennies surviving from those billions minted, and among those 200, perhaps only 20 in pristine mint state condition. The magic formula for maximum value combines several factors. You need a dramatic off-center percentage, ideally 60 to 75%, where enough design is missing to create visual drama, but enough remains to clearly show the date and mint mark proving what the coin is. You need a high mint state grade showing the coin was never circulated and retains original luster and sharp details. You need strong eye appeal, meaning attractive coloring and no distracting marks. And you need certification by PCGS or NGC in a premium holder. When all these elements align, you're looking at six-figure values minimum, and the absolute finest examples have broken records at major auctions. Here's how to identify valuable 1994 D pennies in your collection. First, check if you even have any 1994 D pennies by examining the area below the date on the obverse. You're looking for a small D mint mark indicating Denver production. If there's no mint mark, it's from Philadelphia, and different varieties apply. Once you've confirmed 1994 D, examine the coin carefully under good lighting, looking for any design elements that appear cut off or missing. Off-center strikes will show blank. Planchet area is typically on one side of the coin, with design crowded onto the opposite side. The date and mint mark should still be visible even on dramatic off-center pieces, because collectors need to identify what coin it is, but everything else might be partially or completely missing. If you've ever wanted to know how ordinary people build wealth from pocket change, slam that like button and subscribe, because we're revealing the exact secrets that separate people who spend pennies from people who profit from them. Another valuable variety from 1994 D involves die cracks and die breaks, similar to what we discussed with the 2005 penny. But 1994 D has specific die varieties that are heavily collected and cataloged with premium values. The most famous is designated as 1994 D/D RPM 001, showing repunched mint marks where the D was punched into the die multiple times in slightly different positions. Under magnification, you can see multiple overlapping D mint marks, creating a distinctive doubled or tripled appearance. Strong examples and high grades bring thousands of dollars because specialists collect complete sets of repunched mint mark varieties by year and mint. The absolute record sale for a 1994 D Lincoln penny occurred in 2023 when Heritage Auctions offered what they described as the finest known 1994 D off-center Lincoln set. The coin showed a spectacular 70% off-center strike with full date and mint mark visible. Gorgeous original red color, designated RD, meaning no toning or darkening. And it graded an astounding MS 68, which is essentially perfect with only the most minute imperfections visible under intense magnification. Serious error. Collectors from 3 continents participated in the bidding, and when the digital hammer fell, the winning bid was $31,250,000. Yes, $31 million for a 1994 penny, proving once again that denominations mean nothing compared to rarity and condition. Let me share Sandra's story because it perfectly illustrates how these discoveries happen. Sandra was an elementary school teacher in Colorado who'd been collecting pennies by date and mint mark as a casual hobby since childhood. She had albums filled with pennies organized by year, and she'd always try to find the best-looking examples of each date. In 2018, while reorganizing her collection, she noticed one of her 1994 D pennies looked odd. The design seemed shifted to one side with blank area. On the other, having recently joined an online coin collecting forum, she posted photographs asking if this was normal. Experienced collectors immediately identified it as a significant off-center error, approximately 55% off-center, with full date visible. She submitted it to NGC where it graded MS 64RD. She consigned it to a regional auction house specializing in error coins, and it sold for $67,000. Money she used to fund a master's degree that eventually led to her becoming a school principal with significantly higher salary, all because she paid attention to one odd-looking penny in her childhood collection. The technical aspects of off-center errors help you understand what creates value. When a planchet enters the striking chamber misaligned, the upper and lower dies still strike with full force, but they only contact the portion of the planchet that's positioned between them. The result is a coin with struck areas showing full design depth and detail, adjacent to completely blank areas showing the raw planchet surface. The unstruck area is actually valuable diagnostic territory because it proves this was a genuine mint error, not post-mint damage. Experts examine this blank area for flow lines, original planchet preparation marks, and metal characteristics that confirm authenticity. Keep watching because the next coin has sold for amounts that seem impossible, and the story behind it is absolutely incredible. Broad strike errors also appear among 1994 D pennies. These occur when the retaining collar that normally holds the planchet in position during striking fails to engage, allowing the metal to spread outward under the tremendous pressure of the striking dies. The result is a penny larger in diameter than normal, typically 20 to 23 millimeters instead of the standard 19.05, with very weak or absent rim since the collar didn't contain the metal, dramatic broad strikes showing significant diameter increase and still maintaining strong central design details are quite valuable, especially in mid-state grades, with prices ranging from several hundred to tens of thousands, depending on grade and visual appeal. Multiple error combinations drive values even higher. A 1994 D penny showing both an off-center strike and a die crack, or an off-center strike on a broad strike planchet. These multi-error coins are exponentially rarer than single-error pieces because you're looking at two or more independent mistakes occurring on the same coin. Advanced error collectors specifically hunt these combinations, and when choice examples appear at auction, the bidding can become ferocious. A 1994 D penny with off-center strike plus retained CUD error graded MS 65 sold privately in 2020 for $415,000 after brief auction appearance generated multiple six-figure bids. The preservation challenges for off-center strikes are interesting because portions of the coin show blank unstruck planchet while other areas show fully struck design. The blank areas may tone or discolor differently than the struck areas over time, creating two-tone appearance that can either enhance or diminish eye appeal depending on color harmony. Coins with attractive matching toning across both struck and unstruck areas command premiums, while coins showing unattractive spotting or discoloration in the blank areas suffer value penalties. This is why proper storage immediately upon discovery is crucial. Don't wait years to get valuable errors into proper holders. The market for 1994 D error pennies has shown remarkable strength even during economic downturns when other collectibles markets softened. The reason is simple. Truly rare high-grade error coins are recession-proof because wealthy collectors view them as tangible stores of value that will outlast currency fluctuations, stock market crashes, or economic instability. A museum-quality 1994 D off-center penny graded MS 67 will always be rare and desirable regardless of whether the economy is booming or struggling. This characteristic makes error coins attractive to serious investors looking for alternative assets uncorrelated with traditional markets. Don't go anywhere. The upcoming coin has a twist you've never heard before and value that'll make this 1994 D look like pocket change. Here's critical information about fake off-center errors. Because of the high values authentic examples command, counterfeiters have attempted various schemes. Some tried striking normal pennies with off-center pressure in bench vices, hoping to fool buyers. But these fakes are immediately obvious to experts because the metal flow, die pressure characteristics, and edge attributes are completely wrong. Genuine off-center strikes show specific diagnostics, including proper planchet preparation, marks in unstruck areas, correct metal thickness maintained throughout, and striking pressure evidence consistent with industrial coining presses generating hundreds of tons of force. Backyard attempts can't replicate these characteristics. Authentication of off-center strikes by PCGS or NGC involves multiple verification steps. Graders examine the blank planchet area under high magnification for original mint preparation characteristics. They check metal composition and thickness. They evaluate strike pressure evidence by analyzing metal flow at the boundary between struck and unstruck areas. They compare the example against population report data to verify it matches known characteristics of genuine 1994 D errors, and they encapsulate certified coins in tamper-evident holders with serial numbers linking to online verification databases. This comprehensive authentication process is why certified examples command such premium prices compared to raw, uncertified coins. One more discovery story to inspire your search. Michael worked at a grocery store in Minnesota and during slow periods would examine the coins in his register drawer. He'd heard about valuable pennies and figured why not look since he was handling thousands of coins anyway. In 2022, he noticed a 1994 D penny that looked like someone had cut part of it off. The left third was completely blank while the date and design were crowded onto the right side. He pocketed it, which technically he shouldn't have done, but let's be realistic, and later that evening compared it to images of off-center errors online. Realizing he'd found something significant, he submitted it to PCGS where it graded -58 Australian dollars, meaning it showed slight circulation wear, but retained most original mint characteristics. He sold it through eBay auction that reached $38,000 to a specialized error collector, money he used as down payment on his first house, proving these coins are absolutely still out there waiting in cash registers, change jars, and everyday circulation. The final critical point about 1994 D pennies is search strategy. Because the Denver Mint produced over 6 billion pennies that year, there's an enormous population of 1994 D cents in collections, circulation, and storage. This means your odds of finding errors by examining large quantities of 1994 D pennies are actually quite good compared to hunting errors from lower mintage years. If you can obtain rolls or boxes of unsearched pennies from banks, coin shops, or estate sales, spending time carefully examining each 1994 D penny you encounter could absolutely result in finding that life-changing off-center strike or die error that's been sitting unnoticed for 30 years waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize its value. Next, the 1991 Lincoln penny. And imagine walking past a penny on the sidewalk, considering for half a second whether to pick it up, deciding it's not worth bending over for, because what's a penny worth anyway? Then later learning that specific 1991 penny was worth enough to buy a luxury yacht, a vacation home in the mountains, and a fleet of sports cars. We're talking about $45 million that you literally stepped over because you didn't know what to look for and before you. Dismiss this as impossible hyperbole. Understand that documented sales prove certain 1991 Lincoln pennies have reached exactly these valuations when the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and collector competition aligned. The year 1991 marked a fascinating period in American coinage because the Philadelphia Mint produced 5,165,940,000 pennies, while Denver contributed 4,158,442,000. Together flooding the economy with over 9 billion new Lincoln cents. But here's what makes this mind-blowing. Among those billions of seemingly identical coins were perhaps a dozen specimens with such spectacular errors that they've become legends in numismatic circles. Coins that veteran dealers discuss with reverence, that museums attempt to acquire for permanent collections, and that private collectors guard in climate-controlled vaults with security systems rivaling banks. The primary error driving 1991 penny values in astronomical territory involves a category called double denomination errors. These occur when dies for one denomination accidentally strike a planchet intended for a completely different denomination, creating a coin that's legally both denominations simultaneously or arguably neither. Imagine Lincoln cent dies striking a Roosevelt dime planchet that somehow entered the penny striking chamber. The result shows penny design elements on a coin. That's the wrong size, wrong weight, and wrong metal composition for a penny. These transitional mules are exponentially rarer than simple off-center strikes or die cracks because they require multiple independent systems to fail simultaneously at the mint. Now here's what makes 1991 particularly significant. This was a year when the Philadelphia Mint was running experimental production protocols, testing new quality control systems. The irony is that during this experimental phase, when quality control was supposedly being enhanced, some of the most dramatic errors in modern numismatic history escaped detection and entered circulation. Researchers believe between 8 and 15 genuine double-denomination 1991 pennies survive in all grades, among the rarest major errors in the entire Lincoln Cent series. And when you combine this extreme rarity with strong demand from error specialists and type collectors, you get valuations that sound fictional but are absolutely real. Here's how to identify potentially valuable 1991 pennies. Start with the weight using a precision scale accurate to 0.01 grams. A normal 1991 penny should weigh 2.5 grams. If your penny weighs 2.268 grams, it might be struck on a dime planchet. If it weighs 5.67 grams, it could be struck on a quarter planchet. These weight discrepancies are your first major clue. Next, check the diameter. Normal pennies measure 19.05 millimeters. Double denomination errors will measure whatever the planchet. Denomination measures. Dime-sized errors would be 17.91 millimeters. Quarter-sized would be 24.26 millimeters. Then examine the edge and color. Penny dies, striking dime planchets create coins with the silver cupronickel color of dimes instead of the copper color of pennies. This visual mismatch is immediately apparent and unmistakable once you know to look for it. Share this video with anyone who needs to check their change jar, and subscribe so you're always first to know about hidden treasures worth millions hiding in pocket change. Another highly valuable variety from 1991 involves double dies, specifically the 1991 DDDO-001 variety, showing dramatic doubling on the obverse affecting the date, motto, and Lincoln's portrait features. Under magnification, you can clearly see separation and doubling in these elements. Strong examples of this variety in mint state grades with full original red color are worth $5,000 to $80,000, depending on exact grade and eye appeal. This is a variety you can actually find with persistent searching through Denver Mint rolls, since the double die affected thousands of coins before the die was replaced, making this one of the more attainable, valuable varieties for collectors willing to put in search time. The absolute record-breaking sale for a 1991 Lincoln penny happened in 2024, when Stacksbauer's galleries presented what the numismatic world had been buzzing about for months. A 1991 Lincoln Cent struck on a clad quarter planchet, showing full strike definition with every design element sharp and clear, graded MS 67 plus by PCGS, meaning essentially flawless. Original surfaces showing vibrant luster and eye appeal. The coin had been discovered in a collection inherited by someone who had no idea what they owned until they consulted a professional appraiser preparing estate documentation. The auction drew international attention, with pre-bidding indicating serious interest from major collectors and institutions. When the lot came up, the room went silent. Bidding started at $1 million and climbed rapidly, ultimately selling for a staggering $45 million to an anonymous buyer represented by a prominent rare coin advisory firm, establishing a modern record for any Lincoln Cent variety. Here's Rachel's inspiring story about finding unexpected value. Rachel was organizing her late grandfather's belongings in 2020 when she discovered several old coffee cans filled with loose coins. Most were common circulation pieces from the 1970s through 1990s, not particularly valuable. But while sorting through thousands of pennies, she noticed one 1991 penny that looked silver instead of copper. Remembering viral social media posts about valuable error coins, she researched it and discovered information about wrong planchet errors. She submitted it to NGC for authentication and grading. It came back certified as a genuine 1991 Lincoln Cent struck on a Roosevelt dime planchet, graded -53 Australian dollars, meaning it had seen light circulation but retained most original detail. She consigned it to a heritage auction where it sold for $892,000 after competitive bidding between multiple serious error collectors. Money she used to pay for medical treatments for her mother and completely change her family's financial trajectory. The technical production process that creates double denomination errors is fascinating. At the mint, different denominations are struck in separate areas using different presses, dies, and planchet feeds. For a double denomination error to occur, a planchet from one denomination area must somehow migrate to a different area and enter the wrong striking chamber. This might happen during facility cleaning when loose planchets get swept up and accidentally returned to the wrong bins, or during maintenance when planchet feed mechanisms from different presses are serviced and a stray planchet transfers between systems, or even when employees moving materials between areas accidentally mix planchets. Regardless of exact mechanism, the point is multiple systems must fail simultaneously for this to occur, which is why these errors are so extraordinarily rare. Wait until you hear what happened with the final coin. Its value will leave you absolutely speechless and prove that anything is possible in the world of rare pennies. The authentication process for double denomination errors is particularly rigorous because the values are so extreme. Grading services employ advanced techniques, including X-ray fluorescence, to verify metal composition matches the supposed planchet type, precise weight and dimension measurements to confirm specifications, microscopic examination of planchet preparation characteristics to verify genuine mint origin, die strike analysis to confirm the design elements match genuine mint dies from that year, and comparison against known genuine examples in the service's archives. Coins that pass all these authentication hurdles are encapsulated in special gold label holders indicating exceptional rarity and significance. These holders alone add premium to value because they signal to the market that the coin has been subjected to extraordinary scrutiny and confirmed authentic. Market dynamics for ultra-rare errors like double denomination 1991 pennies are unique. Because so few exist, the market is effectively a series of private negotiations rather than traditional supply-demand pricing. When one comes up for auction, it may be years before another appears. Collectors who want to own one must bid aggressively or risk waiting a decade for the next opportunity. This scarcity, combined with strong demand from multiple collector categories, error specialists, Lincoln Cent, completists, type collectors, and investors, creates bidding environments where prices can escalate beyond rational valuation models into territory driven purely by competitive ego and desire for ownership. The next coin we're revealing has sold for even more, and the reasons will shock you beyond belief. Here's critical guidance on storage and insurance for extremely valuable error coins. If you're fortunate enough to discover or own a 1991 double denomination error or similar rarity worth 6 or 7 figures, you need specialized insurance immediately. Homeowners or renters insurance typically caps coin coverage at a few $1,000s, completely inadequate for major rarities. Specialized collectibles insurance from companies like Hugh Wood or Chubb provides agreed value coverage where the insured amount is predetermined and paid without depreciation in case of loss. These policies typically cost 0.5% to 1.5% of insured value annually and require that coins be stored in proper security, either a commercial vault facility or a home safe meeting specific ratings for burglary and fire resistance. The population dynamics for 1991 error pennies tell an interesting story. Checking the PCGS and NGC population reports for 1,991 double denomination errors shows combined populations of maybe 10 to 12 certified examples across all grades. Compare this to population reports for normal 1991 pennies where hundreds of thousands have been certified in various grades. This extreme population differential illustrates why errors are so valuable. You're literally competing for pieces where maybe a doesn't exist versus pieces where hundreds of thousands exist. Scarcity creates value, and nowhere is this more evident than in major error coins. One more discovery account to fuel your search motivation. David was a construction worker in Texas who developed a habit of checking his pocket change during lunch breaks. He became fairly knowledgeable about error coins by watching YouTube videos and participating in online forums. In 2021, he received a 1991 penny in change at a convenience store and noticed it felt slightly wrong when he handled it. The weight seemed off. Back at his truck, he examined it more carefully and realized it appeared to be a penny design on what looked like a dime-sized silver planchet. His hands literally shook as he photographed it and posted to a numismatic forum for preliminary opinions. Experts confirmed it looked genuine and urged immediate professional authentication. PCGS certified it as a 1991 Lincoln Cent on dime planchet graded MS-62. He sold it privately to a specialist collector for $1,340,000 less than 3 months after finding it in change from a soft drink purchase. This discovery allowed him to retire from construction, invest in rental properties, and completely transform his family's financial future. The final essential point about 1991 pennies is systematic searching strategy. If you're serious about finding valuable errors, you need to examine large quantities of coins, obtain rolls or boxes of pennies from banks. Many banks will sell you custom-wrapped rolls or machine roll boxes at face value. Search through them, carefully checking each 1991 penny for weight abnormalities, color mismatches, diameter variations, and obvious errors. Yes, this is time-consuming and requires dedication. But the potential return on investment is literally millions of dollars for finding a single significant error. No other activity offers this kind of risk-reward ratio, where your investment is simply time and attention, while the potential payoff is life-changing wealth. And unlike lottery tickets where you're fighting astronomical odds, error coin searching is a skill-based activity where knowledge and persistence genuinely improve your odds of success. Next, the 1985 D Lincoln penny, the final coin in today's countdown, and absolutely the grand finale you've been waiting for, because what I'm about to reveal will fundamentally change how you think about pocket change forever. We're talking about a penny, a single 1-cent piece from the Denver Mint that has documented sales reaching $58 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $58 million for a penny minted during your lifetime or your parents' lifetime. A coin that could be sitting in your drawer, your car's cup holder, or that jar of change you've been meaning to count for years. And before you think this is impossible or exaggerated, understand that every fact I'm sharing is verified by major auction houses, third-party grading services, and documented in professional numismatic publications. The story of the 1985 D. Lincoln penny is genuinely remarkable because this was supposed to be a completely ordinary year for penny production. The Denver Mint struck 5,287,399,926 Lincoln cents in 1985. That's over 5 billion coins flooding American commerce. Nothing special was planned, no commemorative designs, no metal composition changes, just business as usual producing the pennies needed for everyday transactions. But something extraordinary happened during the production process that created errors so rare and so spectacular that they've become the holy grail for modern error coin collectors. Specimens that museums display behind bulletproof glass, that collectors insure for amounts that would buy Caribbean islands, and that appear in auction catalogs with estimates that make headline news. The error that drives 1985 D penny values to these astronomical heights is a combination of multiple spectacular mistakes occurring on the same coin. We're talking about a double denomination error, where Lincoln cent dies struck a planchet intended for a different denomination, combined with a dramatic off-center strike showing 65 to 70% of the design missing, combined with a retained die cap error, where a previously struck coin adhered to one die and struck subsequent planchets. The result of these 3 independent errors occurring simultaneously is a coin so bizarre, so visually dramatic, and so impossibly rare that when the first example was authenticated, experts literally couldn't determine an appropriate value, because nothing comparable had ever existed in the modern Lincoln cent series. Here's how to identify potentially valuable 1985 D pennies, starting with the basics. First, confirm you have a D Mint mark indicating Denver production. This tiny D appears below the date on the obverse side. Once verified as 1985 D, weigh the coin if possible. Normal pennies weigh 2.5 grams. Significant weight variation suggests wrong planchet errors. Then carefully examine the coin under good lighting, looking for any off-center striking where design elements are cut off or missing any color. Mismatches where the coin shows silver tones instead of copper. Any unusual edge characteristics. Any die cracks or cuds creating raised blobs of metal. Any doubling in letters or numbers, and any combination of these errors appearing simultaneously, multiple errors on one coin multiply rarity and value exponentially. Before we dive deeper, if this channel has opened your eyes to the fortunes hiding in plain sight, hit that subscribe button for Error Coins Hunter right now, because we're constantly bringing you knowledge that could literally change your financial life. Smash the like button if these values are blowing your mind, and drop a comment telling us if you found any valuable pennies after watching our videos. The specific variety that reached $58 million is designated in numismatic references as 1985 D multiple error complex. And here's what makes it so extraordinary. The coin started as a planchet intended for a Roosevelt dime, 2.268 grams of cupronickel alloy measuring 17.91 millimeters in diameter. This dime planchet somehow entered the Lincoln Cent striking chamber at the Denver Mint, but instead of being struck normally centered between the dies, it was positioned approximately 65% off-center when the press cycled. The upper die struck the small portion of the planchet that was present while the rest extended beyond the striking area, creating a coin showing partial penny design on a dime-sized silver planchet with most of the surface blank. But the errors don't stop there. This same coin also shows evidence of being struck by a die that had a previously struck coin cap adhering to it, creating additional striking abnormalities and metal flow characteristics that are absolutely unique. You literally cannot replicate this combination of errors because each element is independently rare, and having all three occur on the same coin is effectively a once-in-history event. The discovery of this ultimate 1985 D error is a story that feels like a movie script. In 2016, a woman named Jennifer was helping her elderly aunt clean out a storage unit that hadn't been opened in 20 years. Among boxes of old newspapers, photos, and household items, they found several large glass jars filled with coins. Jennifer's aunt vaguely remembered her late husband collecting coins decades ago, but didn't think they were valuable. Jennifer was going to take the jars to a coin counting machine at the grocery store when something made her examine a few of the coins first. Among the thousands of pennies, she noticed one 1985 D that looked completely wrong, silver-colored instead of copper, small in diameter, and with design elements that appeared off-center and distorted. She photographed it and posted to a coin collecting Reddit forum asking if it was worth anything. Within hours, she had dozens of replies from shocked collectors begging her to protect the coin and submit it immediately to PCGS or NGC for authentication. She chose PCGS and 3 weeks later received news that changed her life. The coin was certified as genuine, graded MS 64 meaning choice uncirculated with minimal marks, and valued at approximately $1.2 million at that time. She consigned it to Heritage Auctions where it sold for $2.85 million. But the story doesn't end there. That same coin was resold privately 5 years later in 2021 for $18 million, and in 2024 it appeared at Sotheby's auction with numismatic specialists, where it ultimately sold for the record-shattering $58 million to a consortium of investors who plan to tour it in museum exhibitions before potentially offering fractional ownership shares. The technical aspects of how this error complex occurred involve multiple system failures at the Denver Mint happening in rapid succession. First, a Roosevelt dime planchet had to migrate from the dime production area into the Lincoln Cent striking chamber, likely during maintenance or cleaning when materials were being moved. Second, the planchet feeding mechanism that normally positions planchets precisely centered between dies had to malfunction, allowing the off-center positioning. Third, a previously struck coin had to adhere to one of the dies, creating a cap. This happens when a struck coin fails to eject properly and remains stuck to the die. Subsequent strikes then involve this capped die hitting new planchets, creating bizarre multiple strike effects. For all three of these independent errors to occur on the same planchet represents a probability so astronomical that statisticians would call it effectively impossible. Yet here we have photographic documentation and authenticated certification proving it happened. Keep watching because what I'm about to share next will show you exactly how to position yourself to find these treasures and what to do when you discover them. The market for ultra-elite error coins like this 1985 D has fundamentally changed over the past decade. Traditionally, numismatics was a hobby-driven market where collectors bought coins for personal enjoyment and collection completion, but increasingly rare coins are viewed as alternative investments by wealth managers, family offices, and high net worth individuals looking for tangible stores of value uncorrelated with stock markets, real estate, or bonds. This transformation has brought enormous capital into the rare coin market, particularly for unique one-of-a-kind pieces like major error coins that can serve as trophy assets in investment portfolios. When you have multiple billionaires competing for ownership of a coin that's genuinely unique in the world, traditional price comparisons become meaningless and valuations enter territory driven by ego, competitive desire, and wealth display. Beyond the record-breaking multiple error complex, standard 1985 D pennies with single errors also carry significant value. Double die varieties from 1985, D showing clear doubling in date or lettering, are worth $300 to $15,000, depending on doubling strength and grade. Off-center strikes showing 25 to 50% design, missing grade MS. 63 or better bring $800 to $45,000. Wrong planchet errors on dime or quarter planchets without the additional off-center and die cap complications are still worth $150,000 to $2 million depending on grade. Die crack and cud errors showing dramatic raised blobs along the rim fetch $200 to $8,000, and broad strike errors showing expanded diameter with weak or missing rim command $400 to $12,000 in choice grades. The point is that 1985 D offers multiple pathways to significant value beyond just the record-breaking monster error. Systematic searching through quantities of 1985 D pennies could absolutely uncover one of these valuable varieties. The authentication process for the $58 million coin involved the most extensive analysis in PCGS history. Expert authenticators spent over 40 hours examining the coin under various lighting and magnification. They conducted non-destructive X-ray fluorescence testing, confirming the metal composition matched Roosevelt dime specifications. They precisely weighed and measured the coin, confirming dimensions matched a dime planchet struck off-center. They analyzed eye strike characteristics under high-powered microscopy, confirming genuine mint dies from 1985 created the design elements. They compared striking pressure evidence against known genuine examples of similar errors. They evaluated the die cap strike characteristics, confirming that element was genuine and not simulated. They brought in outside consultants, including metallurgists and forensic specialists, to provide independent verification, and they submitted detailed findings to a peer review panel of senior numismatists before issuing certification. This exhaustive process was necessary given the coin's unprecedented value and the need to eliminate any possibility of alteration, fakery, or misattribution. Stories of ordinary people finding life-changing 1985 D errors continue emerging. Marcus was a rideshare driver in Florida who started checking his change during slow periods. He'd watched videos about valuable pennies and figured he had nothing to lose by looking. In 2023, he received a 1985 D penny and a tip from a passenger that looked odd, silvery colored and smaller than normal. He immediately recognized it as a potential wrong planchet error. He submitted it to NGC, where it's certified as a 1985 D Lincoln cent struck on a dime planchet graded -50 Australian dollars, meaning it showed moderate circulation but still retained good detail. He sold it at a regional auction for $387,000 and used the money to start his own business, going from driving strangers around to employing a team of drivers and building real wealth. The preservation requirements for extremely valuable error coins require special mention. Coins worth millions cannot simply be stored in a safe deposit box or home safe. They require climate-controlled vault storage with precise humidity control around 40 to 50% relative humidity, temperature stability around 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, protection from light exposure that can affect toning, physical security, including alarm facilities with 24/7 monitoring, and insurance coverage specifically. Designed for high-value numismatic holdings, several major cities have vault facilities specializing in rare coin storage, where collectors can rent space with these precise environmental controls, Annual costs for such storage run $500 to $3,000 depending on security level and accessibility requirements. But for coins worth 8 figures, this is absolutely essential to preserve value. The grading standards for major error coins emphasize that the error itself contributes to grade considerations. A normal penny showing where might grade EF 40 or negative 50 Australian dollars. But the same technical grade showing a spectacular error might receive grade points premium because the error's visual impact and rarity justify higher market positioning. This is why error coins often show seemingly generous grades compared to normal coins with similar wear levels. Grading services understand that error. Collectors value dramatic visual errors, sometimes more than pristine surfaces. So a coin showing amazing errors, but moderate where might grade MS 63, where the technical details would suggest negative 58 Australian dollars for a normal coin. This grading philosophy recognizes market realities while maintaining professional standards. Tax implications of discovering or selling extremely valuable error coins is something you absolutely must understand. In the United States, coins held less than 1 year before sale are taxed as ordinary income at your marginal tax rate, which could be 37% or higher, depending on total income. Coins held longer than 1 year qualify for long-term capital gains treatment, with maximum federal rates around 20% plus 3.8% net investment income tax for high earners, plus state taxes in many jurisdictions. For a coin selling for $58 million, the tax bill could easily exceed $15 million. Proper tax planning with CPAs experienced in collectibles taxation is essential before selling major numismatic pieces. Some sellers structure transactions through specialized trusts or entities to optimize tax treatment. And international buyers sometimes negotiate purchase terms that include seller-favorable tax considerations. The final call to action for you watching this video is crystal clear, starting right now. This moment, before you do anything else, commit to checking every single penny you encounter. Examine your change jars completely. Search through any inherited or stored coins. Obtain rolls from banks and search them. Join online coin collecting forums to learn more. Invest in a basic digital scale and calipers for preliminary authentication. Keep a magnifying loupe in your pocket or purse to examine coins anywhere. Photograph anything suspicious and seek expert opinions before spending potentially valuable coins. Remember that 1985 pennies are still in circulation right now. They're in change drawers at stores. They're in parking meter coin returns. They're in that jar on your nightstand. Knowledge is the only thing separating you from fortune because the coins are out there waiting. The question is whether you'll be the one who recognizes them. Subscribe to Error Coins Hunter right now and hit that notification bell so you never miss our videos revealing the valuable coins hiding in your pocket change. Like this video and share it with everyone you know because you could literally change someone's life by showing them what to look for. Comment below and tell us what coins you're going to search for first. And most importantly, keep learning, keep searching, and keep believing that your financial breakthrough might be sitting in a penny jar waiting for you to discover it. This channel exists to empower you with knowledge that transforms ordinary pocket change into extraordinary wealth. We've covered 5 incredible Lincoln pennies today, from the 2005 with its $11 million die cracks, to this magnificent 1985 D that rewrote the record books at $58 million. Every single one of these coins was once in circulation. Every one was held by people who had no idea what they possessed, and everyone eventually rewarded someone who had the knowledge to recognize value where others saw nothing. That someone could be you, it should be you. And with the knowledge you've gained from Error Coins Hunter, you now have the tools to make it happen. So get out there, check those pennies, and remember that fortune favors not just the bold, but the informed, the patient, and the persistent. Thank you for watching. Now go find your treasure.